Hi friends, Krista here. Thank you for stopping by Books and Jams. I have not done an unhaul on this channel in quite a long time, and today it's time. I have about 50 books here that I am getting rid of on my shelves. Many of them I have read, most of them I have not yet read, but I have hauled so many books in the last couple months between my birthday and books being sent to me and book outlet hauls and book of the month and thrift stores and library book sales. All of these things have brought in so many books into my life that I'm so excited about that I just kind of went through my shelves and did a little bit of a culling of books that maybe I would read someday, but right now they're just not as important to me. They're not as high priority. Some of them I don't know that I would have ever gotten to. And some of them I've read and I just don't think I need to keep because I don't think I'll read them again. So I probably try to do this. I'm constantly looking at my shelves and I keep a pile as I pull books off, but the pile has gotten quite large. And so here's what's going to happen. I'm going to show you all the books that I'm unhauling today. In a couple days, probably next weekend, July 31st or August 1st, I'm going to be doing a sale on Instagram in my stories. I've done that before. It gives you guys a chance to snatch up any of these books. If you're interested, make sure you're following me on Instagram. The link is always in the description box. I will do a sale on Instagram. If I sell them there, that's great. Whatever doesn't sell on Instagram, I will put in a Facebook group that I'm a part of to sell books on Facebook, and I will put them for sale in that Facebook group. Whatever doesn't sell in that Facebook group, I will spread out between taking some to Second and Charles, which is my used bookstore where I can get store credit, or taking them to little free libraries around my area. And I always try to keep a few in the back of my car that I'm unhauling that I can just kind of drop off at little free libraries whenever I see some. So that's how I'm getting rid of all these books. There's a little bit of time between when this video will go up and when I'm going to be selling them on Instagram. So if there's one that you're like really passionate about, you can try to convince me to keep it. And it's possible you may convince me. But for the most part, these are books that I'm ready to pass along in my life. And I think that that's a healthy thing. That's a good thing. So I'm going to start with the books that I have already read and that I just don't need to keep. So the first one is Caraval. I don't own the rest of the series. I read the whole series and I've enjoyed it. It's a YA fantasy series and it has a stunning cover. And part of me, there's a few of these here that just have beautiful covers. And part of me wants to keep it just for the sake of the cover, but that's not the lifestyle that I want to have. I want to keep books that I'm passionate about that I would read again. And this one was good, but I don't think I would read it again. And I want to pass it along to someone else who can enjoy it as well, which is the case for most of these. Another one with a beautiful cover is Jane Steele by Lindsay Fay. I really enjoyed this. It is a kind of a retelling of Jane Eyre where Jane is a serial killer. It was a lot of fun, but I'm never going to read it again. I liked it, didn't love it. 10,000 Doors of January, a book of the month book that is gorgeous, beautiful, different. It was slightly strange, but I'm not going to read it again. I'm going to try not to say that over and over and over. Another YA series that I only own the first two books. I think these are fantastic. Part of me wants to try to get the other. I think there are two more in this series. I may hold on to these ones, but I read them about 5 years ago and I've never gotten the other ones from the library or anything. Like I just never continued with the series. It's a fantasy world, but there's no books except in the Great Library, except that there's a kid, a teenage boy who's smuggling. There's like a whole smuggling ring of people collecting books. I don't really remember because it was 5 years ago. Part of me wants to read that again. A Rogue of One's Own I just read recently. I liked the first one better than the second one, but I don't need to own either of them, and so I'm passing this one along. Historical romance, suffragette movement, The Firekeeper's Daughter. I would love to put this in someone else's hands. I thought it was great. YA set on a reservation in the Upper Peninsula, I believe, of Michigan, and deals with the drug situation and the FBI and undercover work and all of that crazy jazz. This one I got because it was potentially going to be a Christmas book exchange book, but I believe all the other girls have already read it. But I got this from a little free library and it's in perfect condition. So I don't need to, I already own this one and I really love it and I'm keeping my copy of it, but I don't need to have a duplicate of it. A book that I did not love, 1984 by George Orwell. This is a mass market paperback. I ended up listening to it on audio, but yeah, I really didn't like that book, so I'm not keeping it on my shelves. Another one that I unfortunately DNF'd was Smale Home, middle grade. The author kindly sent this to me, but I didn't really love it, so obviously I DNF'd it. I'm not keeping books I didn't love. Not gonna do it. Two more books that I got for that Christmas book exchange that I ended up not using. And this thrift store writes with a grease pencil. I'm going to have to try to get those off. That's really annoying. But I have Out of the Dust by Karen Hesse. I already own this one. Love it. Keeping my copy because it's a Newbery winner. And then my grandmother asked me to tell you she's sorry. I think the girls have already read this one as well. And I didn't care for that grease pencil when I came right down to it. But they were only $1 each. So gonna get rid of those ones. Middle grade that I enjoyed but didn't love during middle grade March was Malamander by Thomas Taylor. Super fun story. One thing that I don't love about this is that the gold foiling is rubbing off on the cover from Amazon. That's not cool. And I like that it did have a lot of illustrations in it. I love middle grade and illustrations. A lot of fun, but I don't think I'm gonna read it again or recommend it all that much. It didn't stand out to me all that much. It was a fun story, but that's all. The Muse by Jessie Burton is another one with a gorgeous cover that I've read. I read this a couple years ago. It's such a beautiful cover. I don't think that I would read it again, and I've never needed it for a recommendation or anything. This one takes place, I believe, during the Spanish Civil War. Historical fiction, 1967, not Spanish Civil War. Oh yeah, and 1936, so yes. Deals with art and this family in the midst of the Spanish Civil War. So, unfortunately, I don't know how this happened, but in one of my book outlet orders, I thought I was ordering Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, and I got Chicka Chicka Bum Bum, which is Boom Boom in Spanish, and it's in Spanish. Chica Chica Boom Boom, Crees que hay espacio. I can't read it in fluid Spanish, but it is written in Spanish. So somebody who speaks Spanish will absolutely love this. It's a fun little children's board book, but I got the wrong one. Whoops. A book that I just read a couple months ago, Sourdough by Robin Sloan. Enjoyed it, but didn't love it. It's weird. I'm not keeping it. And then I have an extra copy of Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. I don't know how I have a duplicate of this. This one I think might be a better copy than the one that I have, but it was only $1. Sometimes I just can't pass up books when they're that cheap. This would be a great one for a little free library that's near a school or near kids, because it's just a fantastic book. But I already have a copy of it, so don't need to. And that's all the ones that I've already read. The rest of these are not read, unread books, and I have a lot more. So I have these two I Survived books. I got these from a yard sale for the little kid that I nanny, but he already had these two. I have the Hindenburg Disaster 1937 and the Joplin Tornado 2011. These are fantastic historical fiction books about a young boy who survives these different historical events. The kid that I nanny loved them, but he already had those two. So they were only $1 at a yard sale. Not sad about passing them along. This is another duplicate, Secrets of a Charmed Life. A handful of these came from that library book sale when I was in Massachusetts that was fill a bag. And I just kind of stuffed stuff in there that possibly could have worked for Christmas book exchange. But if I decided to not use them, they're here in this unhaul pile. I already own a copy of this by Susan Meissner, so I don't need two copies. This was a Fiction Guild book that was sent to me, The Pages of Her Heart by James Rubart. I have a whole shelf still of Fiction Guild books. Fiction Guild is a program that Thomas Nelson used to do where they would send readers copies of books and then you would read them and review them and all that jazz. Unfortunately, I got way behind in my Fiction Guild books and never opted out of the program. Now they don't do the program anymore, but I still have all these books, and the ones that I kept, I would like to read, but I've been slowly kind of going through that shelf and deciding some of them just might not be for me. I got this one because I thought I needed this book in the series. This is by Charles Swindoll. He does this series of character studies, Great Lives from God's Word. And Jesus is book 9. I think it's the last one in the series, but I already own this one. So I did not need another copy. My mom loves that series by Charles Swindoll, and I really would like to start it. I have a whole bunch of them now. And a couple, the ones that I don't have are on my wish list, but for some reason I thought I didn't own Jesus, but I do. I showed this one in a live when I previewed a couple of the books I'm unhauling. This is Widow of the South by Robert Hicks. I think it's a Civil War historical fiction. I'm kind of sad to be getting rid of this one, but I DNF'd this a long time ago and thought that I might go back to it and try again. It's Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, but I just don't, I've never felt the urge to pick it back up after DNFing it. I was really not enjoying it the first time I tried to read it. I know so many people love this book, but it just wasn't working for me. So I'm going to pass it along and let somebody else enjoy it. A duplicate that I have is The Dove Keepers by Alice Hoffman. I do own this one and I'm keeping my copy of it. I don't love this cover. I like the cover that I have better. I talked about these two a while ago in a live, I believe. I'm getting rid of the Game of Thrones, first book in the Game of Thrones series, and The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Part of me thinks that someday I will read The Name of the Wind. I don't know that I'll ever read Game of Thrones, so that's an easy pass along. I might read this one someday, but I'm in the middle of quite a few fantasy series that I would like to finish up first. Like, I would like to read more from Brandon Sanderson. I would like to read more from Robin Hobb before, like, those are all higher priority for me than this one, The Name of the Wind. But I know this is a well-loved fantasy book. I do enjoy reading these really thick fantasies in mass market paperback. That's about the only thing I like reading in mass market paperback. Ugh, can't say that. Okay, I've got a lot more. We're gonna keep going. The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. Again, gorgeous cover. This is really low rated on Goodreads. I did try a chapter tag of this, like, I don't know, 8 months, 6 months ago. And never, even after reading the first little bit of it, never had the desire or urge to pick it up. I mean, I just have so many books that are really calling to me to read them, so I don't need to keep all these ones that are just like, meh, maybe I'd like that. Paris by the Book by Liam Callanan. Again, another one that is pretty low rated on Goodreads. I feel like it's a bookish book, but I'm not sure why it has such low ratings. I think there's a bit of a mystery involved in this one as well. Neil Gaiman, Neverwhere. I have only read The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman, and it was very weird. I've seen the movie of Stardust, I think that's what it is, and love the movie of it, but I just think that he's going to be a little bit too weird for me, for my taste. I have The Gilded Years by Karen Tanabe. I think this is a 1920s book. 1897. Oh. Anita Hemmings was the first African-American woman to attend Vassar, and no one knew. Actually, that sounds really good. Has anybody read this one? Convince me if you can. I don't know. I've had it for a while. I got it from a library sale, I'm sure. A School for Unusual Girls by Kathleen Baldwin. I've held this up for something before and heard from a couple people that they just didn't care for it and that I could probably pass on it. So every time I look at it, that's what I think of. So I don't know. It feels like something that I would enjoy. 1814, so it's historical. Napoleon is exiled on Elba. Europe is in shambles. Britain is at war on 4 fronts. And at Strange House, a school for unusual girls, 5 young ladies are secretly being trained for a world of spies, diplomacy, and war. Like, it sounds like something that I might enjoy, but I've just heard from a few people that it was just meh. So I'm gonna pass on that. I'm also passing on The Proposal by Jasmine Guillory. I just don't feel like I need to have that romance on my shelves. I have plenty of other romances to read. Lisa C., The Tea Girl of Hummingbird Lane. The book of Lisa C.'s that I do really want to read is about the women divers. I forget what it's called. Her newer one, that's something about Korean women divers or Japanese women divers. That reminds me of White Chrysanthemum. That's the one that I do really want to read. I've read Snowflower and the Secret Fan and enjoyed it. And for a while there, I had a whole bunch of her books. So this is another one that maybe I can be convinced to keep. But as of right now, it's going in the unhaul pile. The Bronze Horseman by Paulina Simons. I have heard that this has some very steamy scenes. I don't know anything else about the story, but when I've heard people talk about this, it's that it's like way steamy. So I'm like, you know what? It's a real big chunker. If the big focus of it is that relationship, then I don't know. Maybe I don't need to read it. The Dutch Wife by Ellen Keith, about a young woman who does what she has to do in the concentration camps in order to survive. I have a lot of World War II historical fiction to still read. That one's kind of like, I don't know. It's just going in the unhaul pile. I mean, it is in the unhaul pile. That's why it's part of this video. I have a couple thrillers that I'm going to pass along. You Are Not Alone by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. I think this is an ARC, so this will go in my little free library pile unless, yeah, because I can't really sell this one. So this will go in my little free library pile. But I've heard some mixed things about that one. Fierce Kingdom by Jen Phillips. I'm pretty sure this is the one about the mom and the son at the zoo. I've heard some mixed things about this one as well. I just never, again, I don't usually reach for thrillers. I have them kind of separated on my shelves, and I'm keeping a couple of them, but those two I decided to let go. Alias Hook by Lisa Jensen. It's a Peter Pan retelling. I did a trade for this in one of the Facebook groups that I'm a part of, but I decided I just don't think that I'm ever going to read it. The Accidental Empress by Alison Pataki. This is 1853, Europe, royal family. It's just really big, and I've had it on my shelves for years and years and never went to pick it up. So I'm unhauling that one. Another one that I could be convinced, Gods of Jade and Sorrow by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I believe this has like Mexican folklore mixed in. The Mayan god of death sends a young woman on a harrowing, life-changing journey in this dark fairy tale inspired by Mexican folklore. And it also involves the Jazz Age. I don't know. Like, part of me wants to read it. Part of me is like, am I ever really going to get to that one? I don't think so. Jocelyn Jackson, Someone Else's Love Story. This is an author I've never read. I have another one that was gifted to me by Lindsay at Christmas in our book exchange last year or the year before. And I will read that one first. But yeah, just don't know if I want to read that one. Another one off of my recommendations cart, The Lost Vintage by Anne Ma. Again, I've had this for a few years. Deals with wine country. I'm not a wine drinker that much. Every once in a while. Yeah, this family makes wine in San Francisco. All about the vineyard in World War II. A little bit of everything. It has deckled edges, which I hate. So like family secrets, wine, World War II. Sounds like something I might enjoy, but I'm just passing it along. Okay, Twains End by Lynn Cullen. I think this has something to do with Mark Twain. Let's see. A fictionalized imagining of the personal life of America's most iconic writer, Mark Twain. That might be kind of cool. I don't think I've heard really anything about this one. It's very pretty, but I'm unhauling it. And then Wiley Cash, The Last Ballad. This is one that I got in a subscription box that they offered for me to open years ago. And it has notes from the author, like annotations. And deckled edges. It's a bad combination because there's these little post-it notes sticking out that throughout the book has little notes from the author, but I've just never been interested in this story. I'm like keeping all this in there. There's a little bookmark. Page Habit. That was the name of the company. There's a note from the author here. Look inside for my annotations, Wiley Cash. Like, I'm keeping all that with the book. This is a pretty special deal here. Takes place in North Carolina in 1929, so just before like Depression era. Small town, Ella Mae Wiggins makes the 2-mile trek to and from her job on the 12-hour night shift at American Mill No. 2. Her husband has run off again, and she must keep her 4 children alive with whatever she can find. It kind of sounds interesting. 75 years later, Ella Mae's daughter Lily, who's now an elderly woman, tells her nephew about his grandmother and the events that transformed their family. It's like family history, small town in the South. If that's your thing, maybe this will be your book. I don't know. It hasn't been my choice in the last few years. And I have one more small stack, and these ones were like afterthoughts. I kind of had pulled off all that I've already gone through. And then as I was looking through my shelves one more time, I'm like, but am I ever really going to read these ones? So again, maybe I can be convinced. I don't know. I have a couple bookish ones here first. Well, I have The Little Paris Bookshop by Nina George and The Little French Bistro by Nina George. I'm pretty sure, was it this one that had super low ratings on Goodreads? And then just another book by that same author. I don't remember. The Last Romantics by Tara Conklin. Beautiful book. I just don't remember what it's about. I bought it because of the hype, and I didn't buy it full price. Like, I'm sure I found it somewhere pretty cheap. A sweeping, intimate epic about one American family. For some reason, family drama just doesn't always grab me. The Last Romantics is an unforgettable exploration of the ties that bind us together, the responsibilities we embrace, and the duties we resent, and how we can lose and sometimes rescue the ones we love. It's not really doing it for me. Two more bookish ones. I have The Reader on the 627. Gaiman V lives on the edge of existence, working at a book pulping factory at a job he hates. Sitting on the train each day, he recites aloud to a rapt audience the pages that he saved from the jaws of the pulping machine. But then he discovers the diary of a lonely young woman who feels as lost in the world as he does, and his journey will begin from there. It's a nice little book. I don't know. I just have never, I know I got this at, I remember the thrift store that I picked this up at, and I know it was only 50 cents. So I don't feel like I'm losing out by getting rid of some of these. And then the last book party, which is about the publishing world, I think, by Karen Duquesne. I think this one also has pretty low ratings on Goodreads. Finally, two books by Dave Eggers, A Heartbreaking Work of Staggering Genius and What the What. This I know is about this, the Lost Boys of Sudan. What the What, and so I just don't, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna actually ever get to it. It's been on my shelf for quite a while, and I'm not sure what this one is about at all. It only has blurbs on the back, so there's no summary. Funny, wildly intelligent. What's consistent throughout is the full throttle voice, the sensibility of the man who grieves his parents, who safeguards his brother, who knows that his own presence here can walk the line between self-conscious and self-devouring. The Boston Globe. I don't know. So that is my stack, friends. I just counted 52 books. 52 books that I'm getting rid of. I feel really good about that. I think it's really healthy, again, to every once in a while go through my shelves. It makes me even more excited about the books that are staying on my shelves, and there's still plenty. I have plenty of books still to read. So you can try to convince me. I'm not positive it'll work, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you agree, like if you've read one of these and you're like, yeah, it was just kind of a 3-star or below for you, or if it's a book that you've been really wanting to know about, then stay tuned to my Instagram and you can snatch it up. Yeah. Let me know what your thoughts are about unhauling. I think I was also inspired because Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand just moved, and a couple other people I know just moved. And I'm like, man, if I ever had to move all of these books, I could probably go through again and find 50 more. But I think this is a good start for right now. It's summertime. It's a nice time to clean out the shelves. But that is it for today. Let me know what your thoughts are about unhauling and about any of these specific books. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I will be talking to you in another video very soon. Bye.